Public opinion surveys matter for a few reasons, but I think the most important one is that they're a way for the public to represent their voice in another method beyond showing up at a rally, beyond showing up to a town hall meeting or a campaign stop, beyond voting, right? It is a way for the public to express preferences outside of those other political mechanisms. I'm Craig Kafura. I am Director for Public Opinion and Foreign Policy here at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. For the kind of research that the Chicago Council does, we're asking Americans how they feel about the U.S. role in the world, America's relationships with other countries, the kinds of policies that they want the United States to pursue abroad. And so we're giving people the opportunity to voice their views on these complicated topics. Our job as researchers is to accurately represent their opinions and then present them to both the media, to policymakers, to talk to them about how the public thinks about these things that they're working on day to day. Designing surveys at the Chicago Council is a fairly complicated process, especially for our annual survey, which we've been running since 1974. And this is a long survey. If you sit down and take it, it takes about 20 minutes to get through because it covers more or less the full span of U.S. foreign policy and U.S. engagement with the world. And so to design a questionnaire that's that lengthy, we have to keep a few things in mind. First, even though it's long, we need to keep things relatively simple. So you need to make sure that you're phrasing even complicated issues in straightforward terms that people can understand. Secondly, you want to make sure that you're covering things in a neutral way. The Chicago Council is not an advocacy organization. We are not trying to get one result or another in our surveys. We are trying to understand the actual American sentiment on these issues so that we can then discuss it more broadly. For our surveys, we use Ipsos's Knowledge Panel. They recruit respondents into an online panel through a very, very traditional survey method, through address-based sampling. Right? They randomly select addresses and then invite these people to join a panel. And then based on that, you can randomly sample the panel. You can get a fairly good approximation of a random sample of the overall American population. And that's relatively easy to do because we know what the overall American population looks like. We have the census, we have the American Community Survey. So if we get a sample that's slightly off, we know how to weight it, we know how to adjust it. That's fairly straightforward. How you could participate in a public opinion survey will depend a lot on random chance. Good survey research means that you can't opt in. So even though you might really want to take these surveys, we'll find you instead of you finding us. Why should you take a survey if you're called or texted or if you get a letter in the mail saying you've been recruited to join a panel? Well, for one thing, this is one way to represent your voice on these issues. It's one thing to speak out on social media or go to a rally or go to a protest. Your opinion will be seen and heard by maybe a few hundred people. But if you're part of one of these surveys, your opinions are going to be seen by potentially millions of people. You are part of representing how the overall public thinks about these issues in a very important way. So please, if you get a call from a pollster, if you get a letter, if you get an invitation, think about doing it and take it seriously. This is a way for you to participate in the democratic process beyond sort of other normal mechanisms of political engagement.